We'll start with page 1. Seth Bloom, Bill 105-21, Clean Energy Loan Program.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Council. Bill 105-21 amends the county's Clean Energy Loan Program. This program allows property owners to finance certain energy, water, and efficiency improvements through a private lender with no upfront cost to the property owner. In return, the property owner repays the lender through a long-term loan surcharge on their real property tax bill. The Clean Energy Loan Program is a state-based program. However, the state-based program requires local enabling legislation because of the local tax bill financing component. 6 years ago, Baltimore County enacted such enabling legislation with Bill 63-16. The county serves only as a program sponsor to facilitate loan repayment by including the surcharge on the county real property tax bill for the property. The county may not finance nor fund any loan under this program, nor incur any liability for a loan. During its 2021 session, the Maryland General Assembly amended the state's Clean Energy Loan Program with the passage of House Bill 517, which expanded the purpose of the program to include providing loans to commercial property owners to finance certain newly eligible projects. Bill 105-21 amends the county's existing Clean Energy Loan Program to include the changes enacted by the bill to the state's program. Specifically, the bill adds water efficiency, environmental remediation, and resiliency projects as eligible and financeable projects, in addition to the previously eligible categories, which were renewable power, solar, etc., and energy efficiency. The bill also revises the amount and duration of the loans and makes other minor revisions. The bill removes certain loan requirements, such as limiting the loan to a maximum of 20 years. The bill also adds 2 main new types of financeable projects. The first is any construction, renovation, or retrofitting of commercial property that's intended to remove environmental or health hazards, including projects that promote indoor air and water quality, asbestos removal, lead paint removal, and mold remediation. The second new type is any construction, renovation of the property that is intended to increase the capacity of a property to withstand natural disasters and the effects of climate change, including flood mitigation, stormwater management, and a project to increase fire or wind resistance, or a project to increase the capacity of a natural system, an inundation adaptation project, alternative vehicle charging infrastructure, or energy storage. On December 20th, 2021, the Council approved a contract with Maryland Clean Energy Center to develop, promote, and administer the PACE loan program for owners of county commercial properties. MCEC administers the program at no cost to the county. Any administrative costs incurred by the county are reimbursable through the surcharges on the borrower's property tax bill. Bill 105-21 will take effect 40 days after enactment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the member? Hearing none, just one quick question, Mr. Blumen. It is available to residential?
If there's 4 or more dwelling units, yes, it counts as eligible in the program.
4 or more units?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bloom.
Thank you.
I'll move on to, you're still here with page 21, the contract with CEG Solutions.
That's me again.
Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Council and Chairman. The administration is requesting approval to enter into an energy savings performance contract with CEG Solutions, LLC, to implement comprehensive energy efficiency and guaranteed savings programs at 2 county buildings, the Glenarm Maintenance Facility and Drum Castle Government Center. Just a little background, as the owner and operator of over 150 buildings, the county has identified the need to reduce energy consumption and save energy and maintenance costs. and implemented a strategy to do so through an energy performance contract, which is a budget neutral approach to make building improvements and increase operational efficiency. Through a competitive process from a selected list of pre-qualified vendors through a state contract, the county entered into a contract with CEG Solutions to perform an energy audit for the Drum Castle Government Center and Glennar Maintenance Facility. This audit investigated potential energy conservation measures of different actions that could be taken to construct and implement energy efficiency for the facilities, and determine which are feasible to provide sufficient savings over a payback period of 15 years or less to cover the cost of design and installation as a guaranteed cost avoidance to the county. CEG Solutions completed the audit and selected certain measures to pursue based on the review and input of a county working team. As part of the phase 2 design and construction, CEG Solutions submitted a proposal to design, implement, and install the necessary equipment and technology for the performance measures. Under the proposed agreement, CEG Solutions is responsible for providing complete services for a turnkey project, including design of complex energy and capital improvement projects, construction management, equipment maintenance and repair for the selected measures, as well as ongoing measurement and verification services for the term of the contract. Administration recommends to accept and execute the proposed agreement that incorporates the pricing and technical terms. The selected measures include lighting upgrades, HVAC, that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning control strategies, replacing an aging steam boiler with a high efficiency hot water boiler and gas infrared heaters, and replacing an aging air compressor. CEG Solutions will be responsible to pay for all labor, materials, equipment, tools, construction and machinery, and transportation and other services necessary for the execution of the work. The project will address energy intensive facility upgrades for 2 of our larger county buildings and help the county demonstrate how energy efficiency and water use reduction improvements can be undertaken in a cost neutral way for the county. The cost of the project will be paid from guaranteed savings, including both energy and O&M savings generated by the project. Under the payment structure, the county will make all payments during the construction installation period and will be billed based on percentage of work completed. After construction completion, the county will realize a guaranteed cost savings annually through operations and maintenance cost, fuel, and electrical cost savings. The project has a minority business enterprise goal of 30% of total contract value, but is expected to reach 43% to exceed that. The administration recommends entering into the contract with CEG Solutions for all services, equipment, and construction for the purchase and installation of energy, water, and operating cost savings measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the members? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Bloom.
Thank you.
I'll move on to page 3, Bill 106-21, Mr. Leonard Howard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of $4,000 to support its Cities for Financial Empowerment program that we have for our youth. You may recall that over this past summer, you had authorized a supplemental appropriation of $75,500, but we are happy to report that we received an extra $4,000 in that grant, which will allow us to serve youth actually during the entire calendar year and not just the summer. So this supplemental appropriation gives us the ability to obtain those additional $4,000. You also may recall that this program was to support the integration of financial education and banking operations to our youth, our summer youth. This was the first year that we've had this program. I think it's working. We've had some youth actually take the opportunity to open up bank accounts and to have direct deposit. The numbers are small, but we are starting to see some traction into the youth actually understanding the value that direct deposit and the overall banking process can have on their lives. I think, Mr. Chairman, you had actually asked a question as well What about the parents? How's that being incorporated? This is a family approach for those students who do participate in the program. The parents also have the opportunity to do so as well.
Well, is that it, Mr. Howard?
That's it. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's extremely important. And I still have upstairs right now my 5-star savings booklet from Maryland National Bank many years ago. And I was looking at my little coins that I was saving up. And it was so much money to me back in those days. And now it's like a fraction of a mortgage fee. Uh, any questions or comments from the members? No, but I thank you very much, Mr. Howie. And again, I think these programs are very important. I'll just add one thing, if I could. It's amazing to me that when I grew up in high school, I received so much financial literacy from a teacher named Mr. Huffman. Mr. Huffman was a history teacher. But Mr. Huffman recognized that this is something that we all should know about. So Mr. Huffman would deviate from history from time to time to go into subjects that he thought was very important. And he taught us all about financial literacy. He taught us all about credit. And as homework, he sent us all to Montgomery Ward or Sears to get ourselves a credit card, to take out some credit, and to pay on time to build our credit. So I got a lot of respect for Mr. Huffman from high school, because all through high school and college and Economics 1 and Economics 2 and Accounting 1 and Accounting 2, they taught us an awful lot of things, but they didn't teach us the things that Mr. Huffman taught us about credit and the importance of it. Any questions
That's
or
right.
comments? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Howie.
Thank you.
We'll move on to David Bykoff, Deputy Chief Director of the Office of Homeland Security, page 6, Bill 107-21.
Good evening, Council, Chairman. This evening, the administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funds totaling $81,176. This is the Emergency Management Performance Grant, American Rescue Plan. It was a supplemental appropriation to the annual EMPG grant that the county is a beneficiary of. That was part of the ARP legislation. This is a matching grant. However, we match this 100% with some of the phone bill costs that are associated with the 911 center. So there is no cost associated to the county. Upon approval, the administration or the fire department will be purchasing a hazardous materials tool that identifies unknown substances. We have this tool now. It has reached end of life, and it is quite expensive. And we will be going forward with some of our improvements to the Emergency Operations Center. Again, this is an annual grant that we receive from Department of Homeland Security that is passed through the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. And that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the member? Mr. Bykoff, I could not help but notice that excellent painting on your back wall. And I want to know, is the B for Bykoff or for Bomb?
It is for Bykoff, and my wife painted that at a sip and paint event a couple years ago. She's quite talented.
Did an excellent job. Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We'll move on to page 9, Mr. Lawrence Richardson. Bill 108-21, and he'll do 109-21.
Yes, good afternoon, Councilman, Chairman Jones, and members of the council. I have two supplemental appropriations that are pretty appropriate after the meeting we just had at 3 o'clock today. The first, Bill 108-21, is the immunization and vaccines for children. So the administration is seeking a supplemental appropriation of $4,487,134. This is from the Maryland Department of Health, an immunization and vaccine grant. It's funded through the Federal Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to support our COVID-19 vaccination implementation activities. The county Health and Human Services will use this funding for vaccination staffing, medical and operational supplies, and for our vaccination clinics, including our homebound program. The funding is made available through June 30th of 2022.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
The
Okay, moving on to the next.
next one is Bill 109-21. It's the COVID-19 Public Health Workforce Supplemental Funding. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of $2,933,961 for COVID-19 Public Health Workforce Grant. The Maryland Department of Health is awarding Baltimore County Health Department with additional funds made available through the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, to provide additional relief to address the continued impact of COVID-19. The county will use this funding to hire additional positions to support our response to COVID-19, while also coordinating efforts to collect data and information to improve our program effectiveness and to plan for future responses. The county will also provide $1 million of this funding to Baltimore County Public Schools wellness programs to hire additional staff and to help train school nurses.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Next, I'll move on to page 26. One of our shining stars, Ms. Deb Schindel.
Good evening, Council Chair and members of the Council. Property Management is requesting the approval of an amendment to the contracts for Baltimore Pristine Doors and the Rolling Doors LLC to provide overhead door repairs and replacements for county-owned and operated buildings throughout Baltimore County on an as-needed basis. This amendment shall be effective when executed by the county. In the event that the County Council approves this agreement, in the terms of this agreement shall continue through the remainder of this existing contract. Currently on MA 4151 with Baltimore Precision Door, there is $5,756.88 of the not to exceed available, and on the MA 4,150 with Rolling Door LLC, there is $39,840.73 on that not to exceed available. The total compensation will increase from $730,419.38 to $1,135,565.70. The contractor acknowledges that the county has entered into agreement with the multiple contractors for the service, and the contractor acknowledges that it is not guaranteed any minimal work under this agreement, or further acknowledges that in no event shall the combined sum of the compensation paid to all contractors exceed the sum of the $1,135,565.70 during the entire life of the agreement in the renewals thereof. That is conclusion of my testimony. Do you have any questions, sir?
I do not. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Ms. Schindel.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, can I just add one quick comment there? When we reviewed this for preparation to send up, the question I asked is, what is driving the cost? When they began to do the analysis, they found that so many of these doors are in much worse shape than what we anticipated. So that's driving it. Plus, product costs in general are just up across the board for many of the projects. Just the supplies of material have jumped astronomically. So I just wanted to give you some background on what happened with that contract.
Thank you, Madam
Thank-
Mayo. I should have mentioned that.
That's okay.
Any questions? Any additional questions or comment? Hearing none, thank you very much, Ms. Shindle and Ms. Rogers. Next, we'll move on to Tim Sheridan, page 29.
Good afternoon, Tim Sheridan from the Circuit Court, and I have with me Jesse Roberson, our Adult Drug Court Coordinator. And the Circuit Court, with the blessing of the County Administration, is asking the County Council to approve 2 contracts that will support our Adult Drug Court. The first contract is with a company called Project Chesapeake, and it is to provide drug treatment and testing services to the people that will be enrolled in our program. And there's a report that's made off those testing and treatments that's presented to the judge that is used by the court in determining someone's progress through the program. So that contract we are competitively leveraging from a Frederick County contract that was competitively bid last year. It is Project Chesapeake provides the exact services that we want, and we are good to go. We have uploaded a ready to sign contract, but I was just advised by the auditor's office that we missed a 0 on one of the dollar amounts. The dollar amount of the contract is $50,000 for the remainder of this fiscal year, and 4 succeeding fiscal years at $100,000 apiece. The money for these contracts will be paid for by the Office of Problem Solving Courts, the Administrative Office of Courts. So the county money won't be needed to be paid to pay for the contracts. We'll get the money from the state grant. So that's contract 1. Contract 2 is with a company called Alcohol Monitoring System that make the Scram bracelets. You probably know them from the Scram bracelets. So we got this we came to this contract because it was competitively bid by the Administrative Office of Courts and is available to all courts in the state with a drug court program. And the Scram bracelet is worn by people with alcohol addictions, and the Scram bracelet will report alcohol levels and monitor the person for alcohol intake, and again turn that into a report, which is then turned into the court and used by the judge to determine a person's progress through the adult drug court. And there's actually 2 pieces on that contract. One is just a general definitional agreement. There's two pieces of that, and the other is the actual services. That contract, we believe, we're estimating a little here at $10,000 a year. We don't know exactly how many people we will have in our program. Right now we have 3, and we've been slowed down by the continuing COVID, but we expect to grow to as many as 100 at a time, and that's a rolling 100 through the year. So we have those are our projections, and this contract would also be for the rest of this fiscal year and then for 4 fiscal years after that. So those are our 2 contracts. I know it's kind of a lot there. Not sure what questions you might have.
Okay, any questions or comments from the member? 1 second. Yes, Councilwoman Bevan?
I don't have a question on the contracts. Unrelated, Mr. Sheridan. This is what I got in the mail this week, but
Wait.
I've already been told that,
Yeah.
they're canceled already.
Yeah, we don't have any juries until February 8th at the earliest.
Heard that, so I just, put that one in the trash. I'm
And
sure
I
they'll
would-
get
I
another time.
would bet that we go a little longer than February 8th, but yeah,
Yeah.
per Judge Getty at the Court of Appeals, we're not permitted to conduct jury trials right now.
Shucks.
So you're free to go.
Thank you.
I'm sure Councilwoman Bevins wanted to do her civic duty.
I actually like
You
to,
guys can arrange time for her to come there and get forget the other 11 people. They could stay home. Councilwoman Bevins will make judgment. Her and the judge.
I think it's all interesting, for sure.
It is.
Any additional questions or comments from the members? Let me just say, Mr. Sheridan, we certainly appreciate all the work that you do over there at the courts, and these programs appear to be certainly worthwhile. I can't think of things that's more destructive to a person than drug and alcohol addiction. And I've seen so many good people just succumb to those vices and have no idea how to what depths they will go in terms of car crashes, you name it, losing jobs, losing everything because of those vices. So we certainly appreciate all your effort in terms of drug treatment and testing and ankle bracelets and other bracelets to keep people out of jail and try to keep them on the straight and narrow.
Thank you.
Mr.
Councilor,
Chair.
Ms. Rogers.
I also just want to acknowledge, while we have Mr. Sheridan here, on the support and partnership they have given us in terms of the pandemic response, because we have testing, mandatory testing that we have to do for unvaccinated individuals. And Mr. Sheridan and the courts team have just been wonderful in helping us to implement that phase of our efforts as well. So, Mr. Sheridan, I wanted to publicly thank you.
Thank you again.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, moving right along.
Thank you.
Mr. Terry Hickey. Contract. Page 35.
Right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Good to see everyone. Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir.
I'm here representing the administration, who's requesting council approval of a contract between Baltimore County and Bureau Veritas Technical Assessments, LLC. The general purpose of the agreement is to assess existing and newly constructed affordable accessible units as defined under our VCA. Bureau Veritas, or I'll refer to them as BV, is going to be asked to conduct a comprehensive review of residential dwellings to assess whether those units have been designed, constructed, or renovated in compliance with all federal requirements, including uniform federal accessibility standards. By way of background, the county is required to oversee the construction and leasing of a minimum of 100 accessible units that need to meet federal standards. It's important to ensure all those units constructed comply, while also increasing the county's expertise and capacity internally, and the ability to work with the development community to make sure they understand these standards as well and are building accessible units for people experiencing disabilities to the highest quality standards. We've looked far and wide. Bureau Veritas, it's an excellent organization. They've done similar work everywhere from Chicago, Atlanta, Orange County, Sacramento. They've also been the official HUD VCA compliance oversight for accessibility in Pittsburgh, with my nod to the AO up there. They've been working with Pittsburgh quite frequently, and they are a longtime partner with Prince George's County, where they were recently approved by HUD to serve as an independent licensed architect for their VCA. Best of all, we discovered that they are headquartered right here in Baltimore County in Owings Mills. This is a huge step forward for the county, something we've been working on for quite some time. This will really put us in a good place with our work on the development of accessible units. And I would urge the council to approve this agreement. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hickey, and certainly appreciate all the work you've been helping me out with lately, dealing with people in house.
Sure.
Moving right along to Miss Marcia Clark, page 40. Marcia Williams, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Council. The administration is requesting approval of 6 contracts to provide housing counseling services to assist low and moderate income households to become first-time home buyers within the designated community conservation areas of the county. The services will include pre- and post-purchase counseling, assistance in mitigating mortgage default and foreclosure, lending, and legal and settlement services. The 6 contractors are Bel Air Edison Neighborhoods, Diversified Housing Development Incorporated, Dundalk Renaissance Corporated, Eastside Community Development Corporation, Harbell Community Organization Incorporated, and St. Ambrose Housing Aid Center. Each contract commences upon council approval and continues through June 30th, 2022, and will renew automatically for 4 additional one-year periods with the option to extend the initial term or any renewal term an additional 180 days. Compensation for all contractors combined may not exceed $549,160 for initial approximate 5-month term. However, the department advised that the estimated compensation for all contractors combined during the initial term totals $494,160. The contracts do not specify a maximum compensation for the entire contract term. Rather, compensation for each renewal period will be negotiated between the county and the contractors and will be determined by the availability of grant funds the county receives for these services. Estimated compensation totals $3,276,990 for all contractors combined for the entire approximate 4-year and 11-month term, including the renewal and extension periods.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members? And I apologize earlier for putting Scott behind your name, Ms. Williams. Known you for quite some time. You're a very hardworking, dedicated professional. And blame it on my multitasking. So, moving right along. Moving on to page 45. EBA engineering contract with another one of our shining stars, Ms. DeAndrea Walker.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of 2 contracts to provide on-call potable water pipeline design services for various projects that will be throughout our Baltimore metropolitan water system. EBA Engineering will provide services for what we call Tier 1 projects. These projects typically cost between $50,000 and $30,000. And KCI Technologies will provide services for Tier 2 projects. And those projects typically exceed $300,000. Each contract will continue for 4 years and will renew for 2-year periods. And the compensation may not exceed $2 million for EBA Engineering and $4 million for KCI Technologies for the entire 8-year term, including the renewal periods. Just as an example, some of the services will include pipeline design, trenchless construction design, permitting, environmental surveys and studies, and settlement control. With that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments from the members? I don't have any. I don't see any questions. Was that all, Ms. Walker? I know you did 2 at the same time. Is that right?
No, sir, I got one more, the corrosion control device services.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with DACO SCI Incorporated to provide on-call corrosion control design services for water and sewer pipelines within the Baltimore Metropolitan Water System. This contract will be for 4 years and will renew for 2 additional 2-year periods. The compensation associated with this may not exceed $2 million for the entire 8-year period, including the renewal terms. Services will include field testing and evaluation of soils to determine corrosion potential, investigations, stray current investigations in relation to our MTA light rail facilities, and electrical continuous measurements, as well as external condition of existing water mains. Specifically, we look at those close to the MTA light rail because the electricity used to operate the light rail can cause metal pipes to deteriorate faster than expected. So that was one point that we laid out there. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the members? Oh, yes, Councilwoman Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions. I just want to make a comment, overly a thank you to Ms. Walker, really keeping in touch with me during my water main break at Ebenezer and Bird River Cove. I mean, it was between Christmas and New Year's, and you kept in touch with me all the way through the evening. And not only did I appreciate it, my constituents did when I was able to update them about when their water was going to come back on. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Let me just say, this is my second year working the holiday. Last year, it was Councilman Marks on Christmas Eve.
My house and others, yes.
What's up with the side, David? What's up?
I don't know, but it's
Let me just say this. It's an opportunity, Ms. Walker. The opportunity is, hey, listen, these holidays, our citizens are stressed out when these emergencies occur, and they are fortunate enough to have council members like my colleague, as well as a dedicated professional such as you, Ms. Walker, who will spring into action, regardless of what day it is, what holiday it is, to provide the services to the citizens, because that's what they want and that's what they expect. And thank God we have you all to provide the service for.
That's true.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Ms. Walker again for all her attentiveness. She's really terrific.
Thank you, Councilman.
Sure.
Ms. Walker, we'll get you at Passover and Hanukkah.
Don't forget me now.
Okay. Councilman Batoken, looks like you're the red light district.
Well, I mixed up some hymns and some Chia Pet stuff, and it's done crazy things to my mullet.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions or comments? No. Okay. Moving right along to Mr. Steve Lafferty, page 53.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Good evening. The administration requests the council's approval of the county's contribution towards the purchase of 8 agricultural easements through the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation's FY21 easement cycle. The administration requests the county council approve $1,319,553.55 in matching funds for the purchase of these 8 easements on 551 acres of land. The total cost of the easements will be $3,993,394.88, with the state paying the balance. This follows on, Mr. Chairman, an approval by the council of a ranking that was presented to you in September of 2020. And these are there are 8 farms then will be offered to purchase the easements. I have Megan Benjamin, who is in charge of the land preservation program, with me if there are any specific questions. But I would also like to share that it's important to disclose that one of the farms is owned by 2 county employees. And they have met with Kelly Madigan regarding any potential conflict of interest, and disclosed the fact that they were county employees before the easements were actually, before the awards of the easements were made. Mr. John, this is David Johns and Beth Johns. In fact, Ms. Madigan spoke again with Mr. Johns yesterday And she sees no conflict as long as it's supported or reported on their financial disclosure statements.
Okay. Any questions or comments? None? Okay, moving right along to page 15. Councilwoman Bevan, Bill 110-21.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill 110-21, specifically, this bill will permit a sign for one property to co-locate a sign on a new property or existing sign on an adjacent property, regardless of the ownership or control of the adjacent property sign, provided there is a written lease agreement between the sign location property owner and the adjacent property owner submitted with the permit application. And the genesis behind this is I have a brand new Holiday Inn Express that has been built in the White Marsh area. And you can see it from 95, and you can see it's not even open yet because it's had so many issues. You can see it from 95, which is great. And you can see it from Route 43, which is awesome. But you can't enter the property by either of those locations. You have to enter it off of Philadelphia Road. And Philadelphia Road, of course, is just a small 2-lane road. And he had no place to put the big sign that there's a Holiday Inn there. So no one knows that's how you would get to it. He wanted to put the sign on the closest location to the property, but it was owned by the state, and the state said no. Then he went to the property owner next door, which is Tickums, and talked to them, and they said, sure, you can put your sign on my property. And then permit said, no, you can't do that. So that's the reason for the bill. So now he will have a joint sign with Tickums on the Tickums property. So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody. The Holiday Inn will be seen from Philadelphia Road, which that's where you enter. So this is really just about, it's a business-friendly bill, and we're just really trying to accommodate a new business. And I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevan. Any questions or comments?
Councilwoman Bevins?
It sounds like one of those you can't get there from here.
Yes, Mr. Crandall, Councilman Crandall.
Just curious, Councilwoman, is the bill a countywide bill or specific to this property?
It's county, well, it permits a freestanding joint identification sign under certain circumstances. So it's for commercial uses with density that's residential DR 5.5 zone, and includes manufacturing light and manufacturing light restricted and manufacturing light. And also oh yes, it is specific because also the property must be located within 1 mile of the Callington Ebenezer Commercial Revitalization District. So yes, it's specific.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments? Like I was saying earlier, Councilwoman Bevan, it's one of those you can't get there from here.
You can't.
The sign will lead the way.
You can't. It sits up on the big hill, kind of like how that big landfill does. And you can see the building, but you just don't know how to get to it. So this should be helpful.
Kathy reminds me of Colgate Elementary School. You can see it from Eastern Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't know how to get to it.
For sure. And just so you know, this guy's local, and he's actually got hotels up in Harford County, and this is his first one in Baltimore County. And David Marks, who lives in Perry Hall, he's your constituent.
Good.
So it's really good to have somebody local, you know, invest in their community.
Good. Okay, any more questions or comments? Moving right along, Mr. Boswick?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know that for the next bill, Bill 111-21, the bill sponsor, Mrs. Bevins, is withdrawing that legislation.
Okay, and I take it there's no reason to hear from Mr. Chris Mudd?
Nope.
Correct.
Okay, page 17, Councilman Patch, Bill 112-21.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This legislation relates to a PUD that the council approved in May of 2021. What this proposal is to extend the time of the PUD simply because the owners of the property, the ones that are to want to develop the land in following the PUD, we're not able to get things moving as quickly as they'd like to, simply because of the pandemic. So this would extend the PUD for another 6 months.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, we have one speaker for this item.
Okay,
That speaker would be Patricia Malone. Ms. Malone?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. I wanted to thank Councilman Catch for considering putting in this bill. I am assisting the landowner with this planned unit development for Sparks Senior Care. And again, with COVID, they've just had trouble getting anyone interested in developing an assisted living facility during this time period. So they do appreciate the additional time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
yes.
Yeah. Patsy, I understand, maybe I heard wrong, that there is now an interested party.
I have not talked to the owner about the timing of moving forward. I apologize for that.
That's okay, but I had heard there is an interested party. I heard that from another party that's trying to get an assisted living facility somewhere else in the district. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Thank you, Councilman Catch. We'll move on to page 18. Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. Over the past decade, many families have turned to organic farming, including the raising of backyard chickens. Many people like having a steady supply of fresh eggs. They like knowing where eggs come from, and many parents like teaching their children the sense of responsibility that comes from raising chicken. 8 years ago, the council passed a resolution asking the planning board to review how other counties treat this increasingly popular practice. The planning board came back to us with recommendations in 2015. Bill 11321 amends section 100-6 of the zoning regulations to permit the keeping of hens on a property less than 1 acre in size, provided the lot is improved with a single-family detached dwelling and owner occupied as a residence. Maximum number of hens that may be kept is 4 on a lot between 10,000 and 19,999 square feet, 6 on a lot between 20,000 and 29,999 square feet, 8 on a lot between 30,000 and 39,999 square feet, and 10 on a lot between 40,000 square feet and 1 acre. This legislation puts in place additional requirements. An applicant must obtain a license through our county permits department and also be registered with the State Department of Agriculture. There are setback, size, and coop construction requirements. I'll end by saying this: as this practice grows in popularity, I would rather have it regulated than largely outlawed, but still operating in an underground manner. This legislation lays out some very logical metrics. I'd like to thank the administration for its review of this bill and all who have worked to get us to this point.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. We have Councilman Catch.
Yeah, thank you. Councilman Marks, quick question. The individuals who currently raise chickens to produce eggs, does the county inspect the pens periodically? I do get concerned about, we certainly don't want any chickens who aren't taken care of properly or who are injured in any way. So do you know if the county inspects the pens in a regular schedule?
I believe they do. I believe code enforcement does. It is a rather tedious process in order to get the right to have this. You have to go through the administrative law judge, my understanding. But I do believe that if there are any issues, you can call code enforcement, and code enforcement will go out and look at the conditions.
So if there are chickens that look as if they're injured, or that one is injured, you would call code enforcement and not animal control?
I think it's code enforcement. I'll have to check on that. I've always thought it was code enforcement.
But I see Adam shaking his head yes. So basically, I'm just concerned that if there are any issues, that the someone who sees the problem or the owners do have a channel to pursue in order to resolve the problem. Because I've read through about raising chickens, and you've got to be really careful to make sure they're fed properly, to make sure they don't get injured, to make sure they don't get infections, to make sure you clean up properly. All of those have to be done. And I just hope that if this passes, that we are certain to watch out for the welfare of the chickens, just like we look out for the welfare of cats, dogs, farm animals, etc. And I'll never forget when I was in the legislature, we had a one-legged turkey on Paper Mill Road. And that turkey was there, I don't know, about 6 months. I think we got calls every day about it. But finally, the state got the turkey and relocated the turkey. Not on a plate, but relocated the turkey to another part.
The state turkey.
What?
Nothing. I was thinking about the state turkey.
But Evelyn and I saw the one-legged turkey. Ed, did you see it? No. Okay. I'm surprised.
I don't recall seeing it.
Okay. You couldn't miss it. It's a big turkey with one leg. So,
Councilwoman Bevan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Marks, I'm excited that this is finally moving forward. Thank you for doing that. My only apprehensiveness has been in the past where we have rodent issues. I did not want to see, chicken coops in neighborhoods with rodent issues. So I was wondering, maybe that could be an amendment, and how you would feel about it is if your address fell in a community that was currently under rat eradication, that you not be able to receive a permit at that time. And I don't know how many square feet for like this a 10,000 foot property. What's a row home usually on a townhome? I know they're usually 19, 20, 22 feet wide. So that would be the width of their property. Does that include any townhomes, or do you think 10,000 feet is larger for a single family home?
I don't think it would include townhouses. I mean, I'll turn to Tom and Adam, but the way I'm reading it's a single family detached dwelling.
Right. I mean, I would perfectly, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So thank you. And this does not include roosters at all, correct?
No roosters, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they make a lot of noise. They make a lot of noise.
They make a lot of noise, yeah. And I think that the important point to note here is that the health officer, who would be Dr. Branch, can actually order that the license be revoked if the conditions are not, appropriate, if it's leading to rodents and things like that.
Well, my only concern with code enforcement being called for a violation, would that inspector have the knowledge of knowing that the chickens are sickly? Would he be trained to know that, if a chicken is sick, for him to turn it over to animal services? Or would he be more about, what the cage looks like, and is there a mess, and is he worried about if there's water and feed? Is it really more about the code violation than a health violation, or something negative happening to the chickens and the way that they're living?
Right.
I could, because I think we had that discussion when what was the law we had for the dog? Tom Quirk.
Oh, Oscar's Law.
Oscar's
Law, yeah.
I think that came into question about police officers going and doing these inspections, for animal cruelty. Are they really trained, or were they trained at the time to really understand, whether a dog or a cat's welfare is at risk or their health is at risk? And I'm wondering if that would be the same for the chickens. If animal control, if there would have to be a dual report that would go right to animal control with maybe pictures or something like that.
I'm open to any changes that will make this a more effective bill. I know the administration did look at this and provided us some very good comments, and I'm happy to amend this in any way that makes this a better bill.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'd like to be a co-sponsor on the bill. As I've mentioned many times, my daughter lives in Calvert County and she has chickens. And not only do they produce wonderful eggs because they're treated like royalty, they are their pets. So when the chickens stop laying eggs, which they do eventually, they're still their pets until they decide to check out. And they all have personalities, and they're really cool to have, as long as you're taking care of them properly and making sure that they're not in danger either of some of the wildlife that's around in our communities as well. So thank you for finally pushing this forward. Appreciate it.
A long time, hasn't it?
I know.
We've been talking about this forever. Yeah.
Years now. Yeah. So I know the chicken people are going to be ecstatic.
Okay, any additional questions? Oh, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, Councilman Marks, please pursue an amendment in the along the lines of Councilman Bevins. I just think it's so important that if there are any chickens that aren't being properly taken care of or injured or sick, let's get somebody there right away who can take care of them.
Yeah, we can work on that, right, Tom and Adam? Yeah, and Councilman, thank you. I know you love animals, and that always shows. So thank you.
Councilman Marks, I want to, yes, thank you for moving this forward. I know you're right. It's been a long time coming, and I will be a co-sponsor as well. I think it's time to move forward, and the advocates have been relentless. I have chickens. My neighbor has chicken. He has a rooster. And, and I let my dogs out first thing in the morning. I hear the rooster. Not that doesn't bother me much, but I understand why it may bother others because I'm up. So I'm glad of that. And I have one chicken story I want to share with you, Councilman Catch, as well as everyone else. I was taking my daughter down to the ocean, and we were riding down the highway. I don't know what highway it was in Delaware. And there was a truck beside us, and it was full of chicken and all of these crates. And I knew those chickens was probably headed to the slaughterhouse. And my daughter said, "Oh my goodness." And I said, "What's wrong?" She said it's starting to rain and those chickens are going to get wet. And I thought, you know, and like by the end of the day, they're going to be in the slaughterhouse, and by tomorrow, they're going to be chicken nuggets, and you're going to be eating them. But
You didn't say it, did you?
You didn't
not
say
say
that.
it. I said, oh my goodness, I don't think
No.
you're all getting wet. Just only a few are getting wet. The ones on
The ones on top.
How old was she? At
She
the
was
time?
probably in the neighborhood of like 12 or 10.
12. Okay. Okay.
Oh my goodness, the chickens are getting wet.
Yeah.
Sure are.
That's sweet.
But anyway, all right, thank you very much. There's no more questions or comment. We have some speakers, I know. I was just looking at the speaker count and I was thinking to myself, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 speakers.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we only have 3 speakers. One of the speakers declined, decided to not testify.
All right, well, let's hear from the speakers.
Okay. Our first speaker is Eric Lomboy. You find Mr. Lomboy. Mr. Lomboy?
There we go. Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
apologize. Good evening, council members and Council President Jones. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for talking about this effort. I got involved with this group that you'll hear a few more folks from, and they are passionate about this. So I know that Councilman Catch's concerns about welfare won't be a consideration. These people treat their chickens better than most people treat their children. So I'm not really particularly concerned about how well they're going to be taken care of. Honestly, I'm just offering up myself as a resource. My day job is actually the chief of staff for the Department of General Services with the state. And I used to be the procurement assistant secretary. So when you were discussing procurement at the beginning of the meeting, it was PTSD sort of flashbacks. And we're still the chief of staff still dealing with the issues of trying to get the testing kits for the state, and also I can relate. So I'm here to help and answer questions as much as possible. So feel free to reach out. Everybody should have contact information for me. Other than that, again, I appreciate your effort, Councilman Marks. Really do appreciate you taking the lead on this and really making sure that this gets through this time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Jesse, and I hope I'm saying this right, Leeson. Give me 1 second. Are you there?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did say it right, and no one ever
great.
does. Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Jessie Leeson, and I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Backyard Chicken Bill. I am the executive director of Watershed Public Charter School, a public school in Baltimore County that focuses on environmental education, and the former executive director of Great Kids Farm, an environmental and agricultural education campus of Baltimore City Schools. I'm a longtime educator and a backyard chicken keeper. Before I tell you more about my reasons for supporting this bill, I also wanted to mention that a major component of our group's mission is to provide educational resources and support to chicken owners. Our website has a whole section devoted to education, support resources, vets, places that you can check if you're having a problem. I also, to Councilman Koch's point earlier, have worked very closely with animal services, which I'll talk about in a second, but they absolutely respond to complaints about chicken welfare. They will seize chickens that are not being well kept, and this is currently, so I don't see any reason why this bill would cause that to stop. And they are equipped to handle all kinds of animals that you would not expect. So that is absolutely something that is currently in place, and I don't think this bill would change in any way. So if you aren't familiar with Watershed, it's a school in Woodlawn in a very dense urban part of the county. Our kindergarten students raise chickens on campus, and those chickens are an important part of our school and integrated into our curriculum and our instruction. We were actually gifted 6 chickens from Baltimore County Animal Services last year that were actually seized from a bad situation, and working with that agency was a pleasure. I have worked in environmental and agricultural education for a long time, and I particularly focus on urban agricultural education. There is often a perception that only more rural or affluent areas have any need or interest in agricultural education, but it's not true. Learning about food and food systems is important for everyone, and it's not equally accessible for everyone. When you ask the average student where eggs come from, the answer is almost always the grocery store. And in fact, that is also the answer of most adults. Having animals on campus is a tremendous learning tool. Our students measure and do math with the chickens. They write stories about the chickens. They engineer design solutions for the chickens, and they learn about responsibility and empathy in the care of the chickens. Kids are always excited and engaged when the chickens are involved in their lessons. Even more than that, the chickens can be an incredible way to connect with students. Last year, we had a student who was nearly nonverbal. He struggled to communicate, to look people in the eye, and to focus. The day that Animal Services brought the new chickens to Watershed, he sat right down in front of the chickens and talked nonstop for a full 15 minutes to both the chickens and to Miss Kayla from Animal Services. He was focused. He looked people in the eye when he talked. He became a different kid. And that little boy and others like him are a big part of why this issue is so important to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gleason. And we certainly appreciate all the great work you do down at Watershed. I had the opportunity to come there for a tour, and I was very impressed. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, next speaker, Ms. Stokowski.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Eric Rockel. Mr. Rockel?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I come to speak in opposition to Bill 11321. I'm speaking not only for myself, but for our board of the Greater Timonium Community Council, of which I am president. First and foremost, I think that if this bill passes, the county will see an increase in rodent problems in our neighborhoods. Rats and other rodents are attracted to chicken feces. Unfortunately, I do not have faith in my fellow citizens that they will be able to clean up adequately behind the chickens that they house, nor do I think in all cases they will be able to dispose of that waste properly. Which brings me to point number 2. I think this will increase the workload on code enforcement, which is already overburdened with complaints. And they'll see a slew of new complaints as a result of passage of this bill. Before you pass this bill, I'd urge you to check with code enforcement and find out how their rat eradication budget holds up over a fiscal year. When, during the course of a fiscal year, have they expended all their funds for rat eradication? If they tell you it's by mid-year, then certainly you'll need to increase the budget for that line item. Finally, I have several questions about the bill as written. First, what about residential lots that are under 10,000 square feet? I can only speak for my neighborhood. There are many residences in my neighborhood that are 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 square feet. Will they be able to seek a variance and keep 4 chickens? The law is silent to that. Secondly, is there going to be a ceiling on the number of violations before a license is revoked? If you allow multiple violations on the same property without revocation of the license, certainly you'll be encouraging problems with rodents to possibly spiral out of control. Those are my questions and comments. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rockel. Only thing I will just not get into all of your questions, but the same way we passed the law, if it becomes a problem, we can undo it. And speaking of rodents, I'm going to say that I can't think of a prouder moment in our county council history while I was there than when the citizens from Councilman Crandall, one of his communities, came up to the council. They were clear and they had a problem and they wanted this county to do something about it, and we did. And we did basically triple our efforts to take care of it. And I was very happy that we would be so responsive to the citizens. So I say that to say if there's a problem, let us know and we will address it and we'll fix it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do think Mr. Rockel raises a very good suggestion, and I think we should try to amend the bill to revoke that license if there's repeated violations. I think that's an excellent suggestion, actually.
Sure. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Mr. Chair, I just sent you a note via.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Our next speaker would be Ms. Kim Beard. Ms. Beard?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. You would think with WebExing for a year and a half, I would have this all figured out by now, but I appreciate you allowing me to speak. So thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councilman Marks and all the council people for listening to us. And I think once we pass this bill, you're all going to miss us coming to talk to you about chickens. Just know it. This is Kim Beard, current resident in Lutherville. I grew up in Reisterstown. I went to school in Catonsville. I currently work in Windsor Mill. I live here with my husband and my 2 teenage daughters. We live on a small plot of land under an acre. We want to have chickens. We love them. When we were able to have chickens, I had teenagers that cleaned up coops. Now, can you imagine? So we'd like to get them back to that good work again. I'm here in favor of Bill 113-21 and with the group Backyard Chicken Caucus of Baltimore County. I want to make sure that you all know that the couple of us here, and I know you've spoken with many of us over the years, right now represent a large group. We currently have a petition signed by 1,647 folks and counting. And these people are coming from all over, including Edgemere and Essex, Catonsville, Towson, and Randallstown. And I think what I really want you all to know is that chicken owners make amazing neighbors. We're really great stewards of the environment. We love our chickens as pets. In fact, I asked a few friends that have chickens to let me know before the meeting what couple of their chickens' names. And you know, we care for these little birds, and they're part of our families, like your cats and your dogs are. So if this gets passed, I hope that Fluffy, Pip, Georgina, Big Bertha, Hilda, Karen 1 and Karen 2 and Coco are able to have a couple new wonderful neighbors. So yeah, just we're great neighbors, stewards of the environment. Having a few backyard hens provides a sustainable and healthy addition to our homes, to our families, and to our community. I have a degree in environmental policy with an emphasis on sustainable homes. And it's really important, not only for, you know, what we were talking about, our education for our students, but for our mental wellness. You know, the smiles that are brought to everyone's faces when we say the silly names of the chickens really is how we feel when those chickens greet us. The Q&A that we sent out for myths and facts that's been sent out to the council people in addition to the petition list really stamps out some of the issues that have been brought up. And I encourage everyone to, you know, look at the email and check that out. You know, go to the website that we've created, just a group of individuals that put this together with those facts versus myths. You know, they don't make a lot of noise. We just want the hens. And I appreciate your time and all these years of working to get this passed. If anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to take them. But thanks again. Appreciate you guys.
Kim, I just wanted to add, this is Councilwoman Bevis. I just want to add my daughter's chickens, the one she currently has, she has 10 now, are all named after the Friends characters. And she has one named Lady Gaga, and that's a big white fluffy one with the crazy like white crown. And all the other chickens kind of pick on Lady Gaga, just like in real life, she looks different. They kind of pick on her. So, but she's the most loving out of all of them. But they are sweet. They're very sweet. And my daughter has a German Shepherd that does not bother them. He actually helps herd them back into their housing at night. So I know how wonderful they can be. But I also know, you know, my daughter's chickens are in a Taj Mahal, and they have a free range certain hours of the day, and then they have a run that they also have access to, and then they have this wonderful heated I call it the hotel. But then I've seen other property owners that have used storage bins turned on their sides, and that's the housing for their chickens. So we already know that some people will do it better than others. And, maybe there'll be suggestions for folks in getting chickens, and they are a lot of work. And you got to remember that when you go on vacation, somebody has to take care of them if you're going to be gone. My daughter's neighbors love taking care of her chickens, and you know why? Because they get to keep the eggs.
Yep.
Yeah. So we will always have bad actors in anything that we do in the county, and hopefully we'll catch those bad actors, early on, who never really read about what it takes to raise a chicken and how to keep them healthy. And, what happens when they stop producing eggs. We want to make sure that they're still taken care of in a proper way. So thank you for your advocating through the years for chickens.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevin.
And I have another story, if you will, about the chicken and the hen. And I was in the Tractor Supply store the other day. It was a while back, I should say. And I couldn't believe that they had these little peeps and all these little chickens and all these little birds for like $1 or $2. It was incredible. I went home, got my granddaughter, came back, it was like a little zoo. I had a chance to show her all the little animals in there. I couldn't believe they were selling so cheap. They even sell chicken coops, if you will. Any additional questions or comments? Any additional speakers, Ms. Castro?
Not for this item, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Let me see. We'll move on to, where are we? Last but certainly not least, page 20, Bill 114-21, revitalization property tax credit. And this bill is to provide property tax credit for a high rise that'll be going up at the Metro Center. And if you don't mind, I will give everybody a little context, a little history. In the 80s, Owings Mills was designated a town center. And that's when the mall came about in like 85 or somewhere in there. And previous master plans have always designated like White Marsh and Owings Mills were designated growth areas. Well, in the 80s, the Owings Mills Mall has come and gone, and White Marsh continues to grow. However, in Owings Mills, we have it was designated a town center, but now we are branding it and calling it again Downtown Owings Mills. We have the Metro Center, which is part of the Triple Crown of Owings Mills, which is basically Mill Station, Foundry Row, and the Metro Center, which is the county's only transit-oriented development. It has 1.2 million square feet of office space, 300,000 square feet of retail space, and 1,700 residential units. When we think about revitalization, that is what we have in Owings Mills. We talked about the mall, Owings Mills Mall, coming and going. That is now Mill Station, the thriving shopping center, anchored by Lowe's and Costco. We have Foundry Row, which is used to be Solo Cup Factory, a warehouse that is now turned into Foundry Row, which houses Baltimore County's second Wegmans and many other amenities there, as well as additional housing. And the center of all of that is the Metro Center, which the center of the Metro Center is the county library, as well as the community college. Those have been the anchors there, or the centerpiece for the Metro Center for some time. Baltimore County, as well as the state of Maryland, has an interest in this property. And when you look at a transit-oriented development, and you look at what is going to happen next, before I go too far, let me just also add that the property was just, the Marriott just opened up at the Metro Center. The Marriott with 229 rooms, full conference center, and ballrooms and restaurants and you name it. And the goal of the transit-oriented development is all about density. And the goal is to create an environment where you live, work, and play at the same place. And every day, literally thousands of people ride the metro, the subway, to and from Baltimore. By riding the subway, these thousands of residents, they remove their cars off the road, which is great for the environment by reducing the emissions. But it's also great for each and every one of us who's on the county's highways and byways, because there's that many, like 4,000 some cars that are no longer on the highway because they're taking that subway. By building a high rise there in Owings Mills, we will provide additional housing for people, and these people spend their money to eat at the shops and the local restaurants. Now, before I won't be too long, but why is this good? Why is this tax credit good for Baltimore County? Number one, in order to attract major employers to Baltimore County, to Owings Mills, employers look for certain things: housing, restaurants, security, other shops, and amenities. And this high rise will provide not just additional people, but it'll also feed the economy by producing people who will pay income taxes to us in Baltimore County. More people equals more taxes. Baltimore County is built out. For the most part, we are pressing up against the hurdle at every corner. But in order for Baltimore County to continue to grow, to continue to provide the services that the citizens want and deserve, we have to grow. So in order to protect the hurdle, we have to do some infilling, but we also have to grow up. We have to grow up. And by producing a high rise here at the Metro Center, that's exactly what we will be doing, is growing up by adding additional housing units up in the sky, if you will. Now, this will be some cost, but at the end of the day, we will get that cost back through income taxes, as well as other taxes that employers will pay when they locate to places like Owings Mills, because we're providing the housing and the amenities that they want. Again, it's less traffic on the road. We're providing a better quality of life for everyone, whether it be the people on the subway or the people on the roadway or the environment. And the subway right now provides a 15-minute ride to downtown Baltimore. If you go there at the Metro Center and see the people getting on to go to work in downtown Baltimore, as well as people coming to the county from Baltimore on the subway. So I think it's good for all of us in terms of a regional approach. And I have in my possession, and I'm going to just read a couple of real quick letters here. I have one letter from the Owings Mills Corporate Roundtable, and the Corporate Roundtable is made up of some of the largest employers in Owings Mills, starting with Northwest Hospital, to Stevenson University, to a whole list to the Ravens, you name it. It's like the who's who in Owings Mills in terms of large organizations, Baltimore Life Insurance, you name it. And they wrote a letter basically supportive of the property tax credit, and noting that the bill, I'll just read one section. As drafted, the bill provides tax relief that would only be available for buildings over 100 feet in height, which will ensure that the project will be completed as originally envisioned. And by the way, just to stop right there, this plan has been in effect ever since probably the late 80s. that this has been a plan. And this plan has continued to flourish and continue to grow. And then we have another letter from Stevenson University. Again, another major employer in the area of Owings Mills. I guess a quick excerpt. The economic strength and vibrancy of Owings Mills is critical to Stevens' future. We support the Metro Center project being completed as designated with high-density residential development, commercial office and retail space, along with public and educational facilities and a full-service hotel that will ensure vibrancy. The central utilization of the Baltimore Metro Station, which is one of the core of this transit-oriented development, also provides opportunities for Stevens students and employees to live in and commute to Owings Mills. And that came from the president, Elliot Hirschman, from the Stevenson University. So on that note, I will start off by asking my colleagues, are there any questions or comments for me? Okay. I know we have a speaker. Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. David Adler. Mr. Adler?
Thank you, Chairman Jones and the members of the County Council. My name is David Adler, and I'm a Vice President at David S. Brown Enterprises. I'm here to ask you for your support on Bill 114-21. David S. Brown owns and manages 4 million square feet of retail and office and over 2,000 apartments, predominantly in Baltimore County. About 15 years ago, we embarked on creating Baltimore County's first state-designated transit-oriented development. Metro Center at Owings Mills is a 46-acre mixed-use development in Owings Mills built around a Baltimore Metro subway link station, which system is used by 1.3 million riders annually. Transit-oriented developments are high-density, mixed-use communities close to public transportation. The goal with Metro Center was to create an urban core with a mix of uses to foster use of existing public transportation infrastructure. For those who still prefer to drive, Metro Center also has its own ramp from Interstate 795, allowing easy access to Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. The plan is for Metro Center to eventually include 1,700 residential units, 300,000 square feet of retail, and 1.5 million square feet of office space, as well as a full-service Marriott hotel, which opened December 2021. At the center of the TOD is a 6-story, 120,000 square foot building that houses the largest branch of the Baltimore County Public Library and the Community College of Baltimore County. It sits on a public square that features green space that can be used for neighborhood and community events. Yet to be constructed are several high-rise residential and office buildings, which are a critical component to the success of the project. Since beginning construction on this project, we have learned that the site has subsurface conditions that make the construction of these high-rise buildings unfeasible from a cost perspective due to the depth of the foundations necessary to support the buildings. Our geotechnical engineers, Froling and Robertson, have estimated that this additional work could add between $10 million to $15 million per building in construction cost. Rather than reduce the scope of the development, developer is asking the county support on Bill 114-21. This bill provides tax abatement related to the construction of the high-rise buildings at Metro Center, which will assist developer with completing the project as originally envisioned. It is my understanding that you have been provided with a letter from the Owings Mills Corporate Roundtable supporting this bill as well, in addition to Stevenson University. I would ask for your support on Bill 114-21 to help us fulfill the state's, counties, and our vision for Metro Center at Owings Mills. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adler. And I would add that it should be noted that this is the state's property, right? Mr. Adler, are you still there?
Yes. Yep, they muted me. I think I'm back on. Yes.
Yeah, but this is the state's property, right?
Yes.
And we have a library and a community college there. So I say all that to say we're in this together. In the beginning of this project, the state has invested millions, the county has invested millions, and we're all invested together to make this project successful because it's extremely important to the vitality of the Owings Mills area, but also for Baltimore County. So I guess wanted to make sure I added that point. And the only other point I would make is, all of us on the council work extremely hard in terms of being very careful of when we provide these tax credits. Now, of course, we have done it in just about every district, but we don't do it lightly. We do it when it's very necessary. And the same consideration was given to this project. I find it very necessary that this project continue to grow and fulfill its original expectation in terms of bringing more people to the community and more income tax. Because the day that we stop growing, we're in trouble. I've seen jurisdictions around closing schools and everything else. So, are there any questions or comments from the members? I know it's been a long day. Yes, Councilwoman Bevins.
I just want to make a comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Don't forget that wonderful museum that's there. We have folks from all over Baltimore County that visit. Is it called the Negro?
Negro League Baseball Museum.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's housed in the building with the community college and the library. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful if you've never visited.
Yep, it's probably the only Negro League museum around here that all of their artifacts and all of their materials was like kept in the basement of somebody's house and in the basement of a church. And the county was gracious enough to provide them space and allow, as you say, so many visitors from all over to come and see all the artifacts in the Negro League Museum.
He lives in my district, the guy that does the tours.
Mm-hmm. And I tell you, just one quick story. I did not know this, but during my visit, I believe at the grand opening of the Negro League Museum, I was intrigued by this woman named, I want to say Mamie Peanut Johnson. It was a female picture with the Negro Leagues, an African-American female. And if you want to take some time, look her up on YouTube. There's a video about her life and she's doing interviews. You will be amazed at the skill that she had as a pitcher in the Negro Leagues, as a professional pitcher. Very impressive. It started real fast. It started in the South when she would visit her grandmother in the South. Her grandmother had enough land for a baseball diamond in baseball, and she would tell the boys, she plays or none of y'all play. So they would have to let her play. And she ended up being a fantastic, unbelievable pitcher. Any additional questions or comments? I know it's been a long day. I want to thank everybody. I believe I was the last one. Everybody be safe. And I guess we'll see everybody Tuesday because Monday is our observation of Martin Luther King Day. So everybody be safe. Have a great weekend. Great week. And God bless you all and do a family member or a friend a favor and convince them to get vaccinated. Because if they heard those stories from those hospital executives today, they would be afraid.